Hi, and welcome to the Art Splash podcast, where we will have open and playful and also meaningful and thought-provoking conversations about art, creativity, life, and spirituality that will stimulate both your mind and soul and give you a chuckle at the same time. Hi, I'm Joy Fahey.
And I'm Eve Marie Whitsun-Jones.
And welcome to our podcast. This is our fifth one, which is fantastic. And we're really enjoying it. And we hope that you are. And if you are, please like our recording and, press the notification bell if you're on YouTube. So you'll be able to know when the next one is up, and subscribe. And that's fantastic because it gets to lots of people if that happens. So today we're talking about the myths of finding your style in your painting. Well, it could be anything, actually. It could be in painting, it could be ceramics, it could be in sewing, in designing, whatever it is. But it's a really interesting subject. And I think we're going to enjoy it, don't you?
Yeah. I confess I don't know a lot about how this all works. I mean, I'm fairly new at sort of being an artist, if you like, and so I'm very curious to hear, your point of view and how it fits into, all other aspects of life, if you like.
Yeah, exactly. Well, over the last few podcasts, we've been talking a lot about ourselves, how we feel about our painting and our creativity. And I feel my opinion about this thing about, you see so many videos particularly on YouTube, about finding yourself. And it kind of approaches it as if it's something that's out there rather than in here. We're all individuals. And so we have our own style anyway.
Right.
That's logical. It's
of course. It's like a personality, isn't it?
Yeah. And on many occasions when I used to be teaching real life workshops, there was a time, it's many years ago now, but the students at the time wanted me to paint a painting in front of them that they could follow. So simple thing like a landscape, for example. So I'd kind of, draw it out and they draw it, and then I'd start painting the sky and the hills and the trees and da-di-da. And, by the time we'd finished, I never really enjoyed doing it. But anyway, it was very nerve-wracking, but however.
Yeah.
But what was so remarkable about it was we were all doing the same picture, and every single person did it differently.
Of course,
they interpreted it differently. Not you looked at them and you'd recognize that the tree was there and the house was here and the fence was there, blah blah. But without them even realizing that they were developing their own way of doing it, they were expressing it in the way they wanted to.
Right.
And all of them were ditto beginners. None of them were practicing artists, as it were. So it kind of proves the point that you do something in the way that you do it, and that is how you express yourself. So therefore that is your style. And I feel, and I was listening actually to another podcast in the week. I went up to Granada, which was lovely to see.
Nice.
And it's a beautiful journey. I absolutely love it because it's the landscape is magnificent. And I always listen to a podcast on the journey. It's only about an hour, but it's a nice time to sit and relax and drive and listen. Anyway, there was somebody talking about going through the different stages of their painting career, and that resonated with me tremendously because you could say my style has changed dramatically from when I started painting to now, you know, which is too many years. I don't even want to say.
Yeah.
Any case, I think whatever environment we're in and the processes that we're going through and the experiences that we have obviously changes as we go. You know, we're learning and becoming more aware, and that has obviously a knock-on effect of what we do.
Yeah.
And I feel that this idea that you have to find your style sort of is stopping people from actually being themselves.
But what's the importance of having a style? Like, why is it necessary?
Well, I suppose people have this idea, and I in many ways I don't disagree, is that, you know, if you see a Kandinsky, or if you see a Monet, or whoever it might be, a Picasso or whoever, you'd immediately recognize their style. So, you know,
so it's a brand, isn't it? It's developing a brand.
Yeah. That's the way they paint.
Right.
So you can have people who will paint in the style of Monet or whoever, you know, Van Gogh or whatever, and rather than, you know, painting something or interpreting it for themselves. But at the same time, even if they do want to paint, or they attempt to paint like Van Gogh or Monet or Picasso, there's always going to be something different about it from them. So that's why it's really, really interesting, because I feel that if we just allowed ourselves to explore our own nature and our own way, rather than have all the influences of, you know, what it must be, then we're going down the road to say, then it's recognizable. You know, I recognize that because it's Eve Marie, or I recognize that because it's Joy.
But would you recognize joy from something that you did 15 years ago versus what you do today? You know,
well, that's kind of quite interesting, because if I go right back to when I started with watercolors and landscapes, and I look at what I'm doing now, I've started a painting. You can probably see it behind me.
Yeah, it looks great.
Okay, it's obviously it's an acrylic, and it's very much more abstracted, but it's not dissimilar to what I was doing all those years ago.
Oh, okay.
And I have gone through a whole tranche of different things that I've experimented with, and think, do I like this? Do I like that? Do I like the other? And you know, disregarded the things that I don't like and capitalized on the things that I do. So I've gone through many different stages, but at the same time, I've gone through many, many stages of my life. You know, there's been.
Do you dress the same way today that you did 15 years ago? Do you read the same books?
I wish I could get into the same dresses that I could do.
Well, that's a different story. That's a different story. No, but, and of course, you know, fashions change in and of themselves, you know, that influence our the way we dress and the way that, you know, we sort of get ourselves all made up.
Again, that's kind of interesting, because yes, I suppose in many ways I do, but in many ways, because I'm older, and I don't know, colors have changed on me. I never used to be able to wear muted colors. Actually, I never wanted to wear muted colors, because I wanted always to have bright and strong colors. Whereas now I actually lean towards muted colors and softer. So it's not so hard against your skin and your face, you know. And I think the older you get, you know, you want to sort of soften yourself down in a way to I don't know, it's kind of it's a funny thing in your brain, isn't it?
It's funny you say that, because I've always imagined that when I become an older lady, I want to go around wearing funny hats, purple hats. I haven't gotten there yet, but that's kind of what I'm picturing I might do.
Yeah. Yes. I'm going to dye my hair pink and have purple streaks.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Find find a different style in me.
Well, I think that has a lot to do with your artistic style, because you develop a confidence about who you are, right? And you start to realize that what you like, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes it to a certain extent,
Absolutely.
So you're just going to do what you like, and then you just keep gravitating or finding out more and more what it is that you like and what appeals to you and what feels comfortable, and I'm sure it's the same in your painting as well.
I mean, I think the other thing that kind of goes with what we're talking about is the tendency to be influenced by what other people are doing, what's trending, and what's happening at the moment. I mean, all this thing at the moment, about mark making and drips and scribbles and all this, that, and the other. It's very much a trend, and it how authentic that is in my mind debatable. Are they doing it because that feels like it wants to be done, or they're doing it because it's kind of like the cool thing what you do? Yeah. So
was this even a recognized sort of technique back in the day? Did Picasso talk about mark making? No, I'm sure he didn't.
No, he talks about shapes. It's making shapes and making lines and having form. It's far more kind of what would be the right word for it? Formalized. Whereas now, do those mark makings make a difference to the painting? Is it part of it being the form and the design and the line? Do you understand what I mean? So it's you certainly wouldn't see that kind of approach in classical painting at all.
So it's almost like someone has labeled a part of the process. They've called it mark making. Somewhere along the line, someone adopted that term to represent, something that happens while you're painting. And it's now become sort of a recognized, this is what you must do. Just like layering, right? Layering is also a very sort of buzzword. Exactly.
And I mean, naturally you'd build up layers in a painting. Not necessarily with watercolor, because watercolor is so, you want to keep that transparency. But you can keep the transparency even if if you've got 2 or 3 layers, but you have to be very careful and know what you're doing to be able to do that. So it's kind of, I mean, I like the freedom of the idea of just kind of going crazy. And of course we can just go crazy, but how are we defining that to ourselves? And how much are we influenced by what other people are doing?
And there's just so much out there, you can be
inundated with it.
With all kinds of people doing different things, but it's all along the same theme, isn't it? I think to a certain extent,
Well, I think we all want to express ourselves in our painting, and we're all finding ways that we like to be able to do that, and that's fantastic. And at the moment, I've done this series of collage. I'm really have enjoyed the collage, and I want to develop it further. I didn't want to do collage like everybody else is doing. I don't just want one thing here and one thing there, and it's, to me, it's got to have some cohesiveness. It's got to have a meaning to me, and I love doing my landscapes, and I'm surrounded by the beautiful mountains, and we've had it today, although it's really, really, really hot. We have these morning mists where the mist comes down. You can see the top of the mountains, but you've got the mist, and it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm kind of very influenced by that, which I feel is a great thing to be influenced by.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel that whatever to come back to the point of the style, to be as authentic and as real as we can with what we're putting on the paper, rather than thinking it's got to look like this, or it should look like that, or it doesn't look right, or all the other stuff that happens, unfortunately.
I think, I mean, I did a little bit of reading up on, it was mostly, how to develop your artistic style or how to find your artistic style. You said, something that's kind of out there as opposed to, something that you already have.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with, well, a lot of the people talk about building up a body of work. You've got to keep doing lots and lots of art and using different media, different techniques, either, work with watercolor, work with acrylics, do collage. And then somewhere along the line, you start to recognize it's a self-discovery, isn't it?
I mean, it totally, has me.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed over the last little while that almost everything that I'm producing has a certain theme in it, a certain set of shapes that just pop out, even unintentionally. I'm not doing it on purpose.
No, which is
but
great.
I end up with, things that look like wings and feathers. And I'm thinking, oh, well, that's interesting. So something's coming through without even me trying, that's
but that's the magical, wonderful thing about it.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
discover that, and that's coming from a place of pure creativity, because you're not interfering with it. You're just allowing something to happen, and inevitably something does.
Yeah. But you have to do many things, I think, for it to become obvious, or more sort of obvious, in the sense that when you look at it, you go, oh, wow, that really looks like, a butterfly or whatever. And, we don't have to necessarily associate something representational to it, but our eyes, I think, by nature, will try to find a pattern in the abstract that looks like something that you know, right?
Yes.
And I think
he wants to find something familiar.
That's right. Right. And sometimes that has a meaning in and of itself. I mean, I think to myself, when I'm painting something and I suddenly see that I've painted an angel's wing, or in my mind, it's an angel's wing, it's, forgive the thought that, oh, the angels are talking to me and trying to come through, my angel is looking over me and coming out in my painting. And it really makes me feel good.
Yes, it's lovely. It's beautiful when that happens, and I love it. You can't preempt that. It comes naturally. You can't think about it. It's not a left-hand brain thing.
I know. And even just thinking about it, my eyes start to water. It's like it's a very emotive reaction, I think. I don't know if that happens when you're painting, when you're doing something, and all of a sudden you step back and you look at it and you
go, oh, wow.
And
Yeah. Wonderful. And that, I think, that obviously is influenced with the kind of things that we're going through at that time in life.
Yes.
I mean, it's very personal. I had a whole period of time where every single kind of intuitive painting or free painting or drawing I was doing, I kept getting horses.
Oh, yes, right, yes.
And I was seeing horses and all over. And I can't say I'm an expert at drawing horses, but just the shapes would kind of happen, with a beautiful long, muzzle coming down and their ears, and they would keep coming up in paintings. And
did it mean something to you at the time?
Yes, it did. It meant something really significant. You start looking at the mythology of it, and you start exploring it, and it's very interesting because it puts something, it clarifies something inside of you. Then I had another phase of doing a lot of things with dividing lines and then crossing, and it was like
Okay.
crossing from one side to the other. And I
Okay.
actually, the whole series was called Crossing the Line. And at
Yeah.
the time, I was going through some different challenges with communication with somebody,
Yeah.
and I felt that we were, you know, at
That's all.
opposite ends, and I was
Yeah.
constantly trying to find a way to
Yeah.
communicate with them. And every time I was doing these paintings, this thing would happen.
The
That
theme would come through.
yeah, and it would be kind of like a line, a vertical line, and then there'd
Yes.
be a horizontal line which was just over the vertical
Yeah.
line.
The
It was like
vertical.
kind of nudging towards it. It was
Yeah.
really, and I did a whole series of those paintings.
It's interesting, isn't it?
And then it
Psychologically,
changes,
it's so
yeah.
obvious what the
Yeah.
symbolism can be, right, behind some of these things. When in
Yeah.
even, at the time that you're doing it, maybe not so much, but in retrospect, you can look back and you can say, yes, I remember
That
now when
was
I was
going
doing
on.
that. It was my,
Yeah.
I was going through. And obviously my subconscious, my psyche was bringing this out in my artwork. Yeah. It's really
and I think the most the way to discover yourself more in doing this, in I would say recognizing your style, not finding it. You're kind of or allowing it, is to start to do a theme and stay with the theme.
Okay.
So you will see how you develop that theme. And
like
you
what would
repeat
be
it
a
and you
theme,
repeat
for
it.
example,
Well,
Joy?
if I mean, it could be anything. It could be deciding that you're going to paint a tree, the same tree, 10 times. Or you want to do, you've got an idea about an abstract painting, and you keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it, and you'll find different colors come in, and different things started happening. And also trying it with different with a specific tool or brushes. Do something with, say, bigger brushes, and see what kind of strokes you're making. Then if you went to smaller brushes, what kind of strokes are you making with those? Not thinking about it, but actually allowing it.
Just naturally.
And I find this happens a lot with me. I mean, I've got every conceivable tool under the sun that I could make paintings with. I've shown them in different workshops. I've got boxes of this and this and this and this. And scrapers and brushes, what do you call them, nail brushes and spatulas and sponges and everything. But if I start on a painting and I say, okay, I'm going to just have these for now, and I'll see what happens to do something else. How do I get those different effects? And I stay with that. And then I see what I can do with those things, and how similar I would do things, or how differently I would do them. So I'm exploring myself.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's so important it's so important to explore, to try different things. Because then you find things that you didn't know, you find out things that you didn't know that you liked, because you hadn't tried them before, obviously. Like when I started collage, I thought to myself at the beginning, I don't know, am I going to like this? I don't know. But then once I started it, I was completely taken with it.
And then you let that lead you. I mean, I'm really into doing these collages, and what's inspired me to get going with that was really being out in nature, and taking photographs and looking, and actually going to Granada. It's amazing, because they've cut the road through these big mountains, and the color of the color of the rocks, it's like a shining sort of ochre orange. Terracotta. It's absolutely amazing color, and that's in my mind. So I'm now going to do something using that kind of feel. it's incredibly dramatic. So if you've got something then that inspires you, then look at different ways that you could express that inspiration. And with the collage, it's, you know, I love taking photographs. I'm not a brilliant photographer, but I'm always going, oh, look at that. And, you know, with our phones, it's so easy to do. And then that will inspire me. So, I mean, for this one that I'm working on, where I take the dog for a walk, I'm on the other side of the valley to the village. So I can see the village. You know, it's not that far away. It's probably a kilometer away or a mile away. And it's just like a white strip.
Yeah, okay.
So that's kind of inspired the start of this painting.
Yes.
Is the white strip. And then, you know, when I've been driving around, you know, a lot of the villages are up on the mountains.
Yes,
so
yes.
you see the mountain, the side of it, and then you see the village at the top. So you've got this this shape automatically.
Yeah.
Well, that inspires me. So how would I do that in painting, and how would I do that in collage? So let's explore. And because it's authentic, something about you or me or whoever it is will come through.
Definitely.
And that's your style. And how you would develop that would be to keep pushing it and pushing it. So you can see yourself that there's a continuity between each painting. So it's recognizable. Because all we're talking about at the end of the day is recognizing.
Yeah, well, I mean, to whatever extent that's important, but again, I think it goes back to having a brand, you know, someone that can point to a painting and say, "Oh, I know who did that." Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit like, you know, a singer. You can recognize a singer because they have their own voice. You know, you can recognize a band because they have their own way of
their own
producing
sound.
their own sound. So there's no difference.
No,
you
not
know,
really.
If you sing with your voice, which isn't going to be the same as anybody else's voice.
True. Yeah. Unless you're one of these imitators, but yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well,
which is I guess the counterpart of a counterfeiter, you know, who paints trying to make it look like yeah, right.
He does a fun, I can't remember his name. He does a great series on YouTube of showing you all different ways to do different artists, different brush strokes. But you know, all of it is enlightening us to different ways of discovering things.
Yeah, there's always something new to learn, isn't there?
Yeah, until we find something that we really like, that then we can develop. And that's really enhancing your own way of painting such that it's recognizable.
Yeah, and I think also I've discovered is that I have a tendency to use let's just say I have a tendency to use short brush strokes, you know, and that after a while it starts to bother me that I'm only using short brush strokes. So I'm limiting myself in the way that overall painting comes out by this sort of choppiness, you know, that everything is a bit choppy around the whole picture or the whole piece. So I'm trying to force myself now to take longer, you know, brush strokes, or to it's a security thing. It's an insecurity thing, I should say, to actually take that brush, fill it with paint, and then just go all the way around all the way across it. You know, it's a big leap, isn't it? Instead of just doing a little bit, and a little bit, you got to go all the way around, all the way over it. And
And I think until you kind of experiment with all of it, you know, see what would happen if you made your background red. See what would happen if you made your background black.
Right.
See how you feel. Or if you made it blue, you know, and then do something on top of it. And that changes the color anyway of whatever you're going to put on top of it. But you've got these interesting things that would happen because you've got a different kind of background. And I think, you know, one has to free oneself up in order to do that, and not have, you know, this limiting belief that we can all tend to have, that it's got to be something. It's got to look nice, and people have got to like it and say, ooh, ah, you know, oh, that's great. Does it feel great to you? Yeah. And then once you kind of have got that flexibility and freedom with allowing yourself to explore yourself, then if you have some of the skills of how the composition is working, have you got your color values right? Is it all bland? Is it all one color value, which is a great tendency for beginner artists particularly. They don't understand about value, so everything is the same value. So, you know, when you work on those skills of your, particularly your composition and your design and your color values, which are the three main points, and I've got 2 different workshops on those online because they're so important. You then can all start putting the whole thing together, because, you know, even when you're doing something really free and intuitive and wonderful, you get to the stage then when you come from the creative side, the right side, to the left side to look at, is it balanced? Is the harmony? Is there a focal point? Is the color value working? You can go into it then and add those things without destroying the freedom of the painting.
Right.
And often than not, and as you were saying before, when you're just doing something free and something amazing happens, because we are creative creatures, the composition oftentimes falls absolutely in the right place.
Intuitively. More naturally. Right. Well, true. You sort of by accident end up doing it.
Well, it's by accident and divine intervention.
Thank God for that. We all need a little bit of divine intervention.
But you know, to take it to the space where then you understand that, you know, that's where the skill part comes in.
Right.
And you know, you can develop that as you go. So it's really interesting to talk about it.
Well, I have a couple more questions. I wanted to ask you about the retreat, Joy, in the sense of when, you know, we're all together doing, you know, the exercises and all the different things that you're planning. Are you going to be helping us sort of guide us, if you like, if you see us being sort of stuck in a box, you know?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. For sure.
Because I was just thinking to myself that if I end up going back to my usual, you know, little sort of tiny little brush strokes, I want you to come along and take the brush in my hand and just go like this.
I will. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
I'm actually, I've started already putting the whole thing, you know, together.
Right.
Because I've also got to get the materials organized. And, you know, again, the retreat will be very much focused on helping everybody access themselves.
Please.
Point. And you know, with the location being so beautiful, surrounded by the amazing landscape of everything, we've got the sea and the mountains, the village, you know, it's fantastic. You know, to actually stand and look at that and say, how do you feel about that? What feeling do you get from it? What do you see? What shapes do you see? And it summons up such an emotion because of the beauty of it, that you can, you know, it's already there. And it'll be very interesting to see how each person interprets that for themselves. Not that necessarily we would use that as a prompt, but it can't help but influence us because we're in that surrounding, you know. So that's that. Yes, for sure.
I was just thinking, I mean, you may, you know, this is not something that I think you have to do, but I was just picturing that if you ask someone to close their eyes and imagine, you know, that they've got this scene in front of them, but now their eyes are closed and they've got the brush in their hand and the canvas in front of them. And of course the brush with paint, whatever. And then they just sort of freely let their hand, you know, go with the feeling that they have, you know, internally, and then without seeing what it looks like on the canvas, you know, just letting their hand, that natural movement. I think that would be a really
interesting. That's going to be one of the exercises.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
It's very much kind of getting in touch with oneself.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, we are influenced obviously by our environment, and the environment there is extremely inspirational. How do we put those two things together? How do we join them together? And it might be, you know, some people don't like the landscape. Some people much prefer to be in a city.
True.
You know, so what does that look like? That's a very different kind of feel, isn't it? You know, tall buildings and, you know, hustle and bustle and noise and all that. It's so fascinating. You know, some people love the sea, some people don't. With all of it, it's intriguing. So
and doing it without judgment or fear of judgment. I suppose it's more about you know, not wanting to produce something, as we've said, you know, already many times, that other people will think of you as being, I don't know, you know, not talented or clumsy.
But it's such a strange concept, that, because who's to say? You know, are you taking it to the Royal Academy, to a bunch of judges, to inspect it and look at it? No, we're not. We're just, you know, it's our friends and family and you know, normal
or not
people.
even,
or not even, just friends and family who, you know, either like it or don't. I mean, you know, I know some of my family really don't like abstract painting, and they say to me, why don't you paint something proper? I go, yeah, right, get a life. But you know what I mean, I don't care. I know that there's an audience for the things that I do, and I have people who buy them and like them, and I have people who don't.
Well, thank goodness. You know, I think that's all part of, you know, the wonderful variety in everything in life. You know, there's an audience, there's you know, an appeal to a certain person or a group of people, whatever it might be. And it sounds maybe a little bit morbid to say, but I'm actually, believe it or not, I think about this a lot. I think about when I'm gone, you know, what are my children going to do with all of this stuff that I have accumulated over my years? And I'm sure in your case also, you've got, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of either canvases or pieces of paper or even your tools, you know, all the tools that you just mentioned before. You know, what are they going to do with that? They're going to be faced with the prospect of, should I keep this? Should I give it away? Should I
put it on the bonfire? Well, funnily enough, I was, because I've got so many paintings and stuff that I, you know, playthings. And I think in the last workshop that I did, which was in the studio, I was doing some cut-ups of old paintings.
Right, yes.
And I if you're on audio, you can't see them, but I'm making like all cards like this. I'm cutting up the paintings, turning them into cards, putting my sticker on the back, and they're giveaways.
Fantastic.
So
it's all part of the environmental cause of recycling, repurposing,
Well, and also emptying my cupboards.
And emptying your cupboard, making space. Yeah,
Yes, because I can just give them away. And you know, they're some of them are really nice, some of them aren't. I've got some little IKEA
frames.
frames.
Yes, right.
Cutting them up and putting them in there.
That's a great idea.
So I'm actually just going to do a YouTube video on that one.
Yeah, good.
Because what do we do with it all? God knows. I don't know. But you know, to put them in the market and someone will buy the canvases and paint over it and paint something for them. You know, I do that sometimes as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, actually, that's sometimes that I think of that. I go to these flea markets and I find old canvases that someone's painted some god-awful picture on, but it's still a viable canvas. So I think I can paint over it and use it for myself, you know, why not?
And I haven't got an attic because, you know, one could hide things in the attic, and in, you know, 150 years time, someone finds this painting and say, oh, I've just found an original Joy Fahey.
Right, that's right. It's right. Or someone will remove, you know, a layer of paint and find something under, like a class, you know, how it often happens.
I don't think that's going to happen, but anyway, you never know. Never going to stop me from dreaming.
And they'll say, just by looking at it, they'll say, that's a Joy Fahey. I know style. I know that's your style.
Oh, dear. So I think the biggest takeout for anybody listening to this this conversation is really have faith in yourself.
Yeah.
Be intrigued about yourself and how you want to paint. What moves you, and explore. As you were saying, you know, you might go into little brushes and try a big one. If you're into bigger brushes, go to little ones. Try it with your fingers, try it with a sponge, try it with a scraper or a spatula or a whatever. Discover how you like to work.
Yes, and just keep trying different things. I saw a woman I watched a YouTube the other night of a woman doing these beautiful abstract florals with her fingers. You know, she was just dipping her finger in the paint and making shapes, and at the end of it, they were fantastic. And I thought, oh, who the hell needs a brush?
Well, you know, they're quite a new invention when you think about when, you know, the cavemen used to be painting their things on the wall. So
they were using burnt sticks and things,
all kinds of things.
So,
you know, we're permitted to do whatever we like, but I don't think people should get hooked on this idea that, oh, I haven't got a style. Yes, you have, and it's about you and your magicalness and, you know, uniqueness at the end of the day.
And you're just bring yourself.
Yes, bring yourself to the game, and to hell with everybody else. It doesn't matter. And certainly don't go around comparing yourself to others, because it's the kiss of death. You know, I'd never get out of bed in the morning if I compared myself to other people. I mean, there are people probably doing however you define it, things much better than me or much worse than me, but I don't care. You know, I do what I do, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think that's so important. And I do feel that, you know, one of the challenges is say with Facebook, when you put your stuff on Facebook and you want people to like it, and if you don't get any likes, you get disappointed. And you know, some people say, oh, that's fantastic, and then you don't get any other comments. It can be very upsetting because you feel as if you're being judged. And you know, I'm not saying don't put stuff up, but do it for a reason, or more importantly, maybe tell the story of what the painting is about, so people can understand where you're coming from. So I painted this when I was feeling XYZ, or I painted this when I'd been experimenting with blah blah blah. If you bring the story to it, and painting really is about a story at the end of the day, how did you arrive at that? Then anyone looking at it can feel you in it. It's not just an isolated image.
That's true. That's
It's
true.
got something else to it
around it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that that can make a tremendous difference to what people then would say, because you enter into a discussion, into a discussion about it.
Yes, 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 yes. And it makes it very, I mean, it makes it very personal, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're putting yourself out there, not just by showing your art, but by discussing how it came to be and what inspired. Yeah. So it opens you up. It kind of invites other people to see you.
Yeah.
Not your art, but what how you're describing how you did it, or why you did it, or what inspired you.
Yeah.
And they get to know you better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, use it to expand and to share what's going on, rather than just banging a picture up there. This is an acrylic, I don't know, 20 by 30 centimeters and dark, okay, well, we can see that, but
colors, right.
What is it? What's going on with it?
Yes. It takes a certain amount of bravery, I think, for a lot of people to open themselves up to saying things like that, to describing.
Yes. Well, we were talking about that, about having courage.
Right. Yes.
But what have you got to lose, actually?
Well, good question. What do you have to lose, really? There is no, what the downside is that, as you say, people might not react. So that in itself is maybe seen as a judgment, that no one says, good or bad or whatever.
And whoever sees it is up to, the wretched algorithm of whatever platform you're on. I mean, if they decide that you want, you'll get in front of 1,000 people or 5 people. I mean, the whole thing is completely potty, actually.
And you don't know. You have no idea.
You don't know. No, you don't know. But I mean, the nice thing about the group is that that the group is supportive, because we're all there. It's a private
the community.
The community, and we're all there because, well, that and my classes group, we're all there because we love painting, and we're naturally more supportive. If you just put it out on your normal, what do you call it?
Your normal page,
profile page that goes out to all and sundry, then it's a different scenario. But even so, still tell the story, because your friends would be interested to know, how did this come about?
One hope. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And we're doing this challenge at the moment of how to paint an ugly painting. And this is my latest ugly painting. It's fun, isn't it?
I know. I'm sorry, I hadn't had the time to do very much since I've been, here in Canada visiting friends and family and so on. I haven't had much time to just sit down and do any kind of art.
Ugly paintings.
I'll be doing lots of ugly paintings when I get back to Portugal next week.
Well, it's the thing is, it's there forever, within the group, and you can pick it up and put it down whenever the mood takes you, really. So it's not set in stone to be, but I think go paint for yourself, paint from your heart and soul, and then
damn the consequences.
And just be aware to develop the certain skills that you need to give the painting then some balance and continuity and harmony and composition, and you'll be amazed what reaction you'll get, because people recognize that authenticity. They like it because it's not fabricated, it's not superficial, it's not
yes,
it's not there,
so to speak.
It's there for the right reason. And I think that's really important. So interesting conversation. Thank you, despite the heat here. God, it's nearly 40 degrees this afternoon. Hot. But that's okay. It's all right. And so where are we going to find you? Are you
well, oh gosh,
to website?
Far away from having a website. I mean, I'm told it's ready and somebody has to push a button somewhere, but I haven't had that button pushed yet. So hopefully, again, anticipating, very soon. But in the meantime, I still have my Facebook page, and
Okay.
I've been posting a few different things, not as much as I would like to because of my kind of crazy schedule at the moment. But anyway, I'll catch up with it very soon. And you have various places to
Various
where
things. Yes. Well, I'll put all the links below.
yeah.
And if people want to go and have a look at the different things, the different classes, free mini course, free trial for the group, the art retreat, lots of online courses. So a few things that you can check out and see if they're things that you would like.
You've got what, four master classes now in the community?
No, I've got 5.
5. Oh, right.
5 master classes, and the different challenges and various other resources and different things. So
I think just the community and the master classes alone are worth the price of admission. There's so much in there that you've got available, and I think everyone should at least take a look at it for that free 2-week offer that you've got. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I haven't promoted it a lot yet because I've just been busy with other things, but I will do. And I do feel that, if one is serious about wanting to do more with your painting and learn more, learn the skills, so you can find that freedom and authenticity and be yourself with it, then certainly those classes will take you a long way towards achieving that goal. And,
well, I can testify to that just watching them and trying to apply, and it's not always, doesn't happen immediately, but keeping these things in mind has helped me tremendously. Really
and I think the more you instill it, the more it just becomes natural. But there's lots of different courses and classes with lots of different teachers, and I feel the most important thing is to feel good about the teacher, that you have a connection there, because some people might really enjoy my teaching and some people might not. So
I've had
you just never know.
I've signed up for other courses, and after about 2 or 3 videos, I've thought to myself, no, I can't.
Enough.
It's enough for me. It's not very. It doesn't.
Me too. I mean, I follow different people. I'm in an actual group myself. Although I run a group, I'm in another group, and I find it. I just find the whole thing inspiring and interesting. So
sure. You need to get inspiration from all different places, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. For whatever we do, it doesn't matter whether we're decorating our home,
painting, cooking,
cooking, gardening, doesn't matter. We're all kind of, we can't help it as creatives and creative human beings that we want to create. It's natural.
I know. So it's hard to stop once. Anyway. All right.
Well,
thank you, Joy.
Thank
usual,
you.
It's been a really great discussion.
Good conversation today. Lovely.
Yeah,
enjoyed that.
And
so next Monday we'll be on.
Next Monday, yes.
Yeah, and we're on Spotify. We're on Google,
Apple Podcasts. We're on Google.
Okay.
We're
YouTube,
everywhere.
And Kajabi. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope you can get a nice cool down on the rest of your hot day.
Oh, just before we go, can I just say to our listeners, please, let us know what you feel about finding your own way, finding your style, or discovering your style. Be lovely to hear what you have to say about it in the comments. That would be great. Sorry. Yes. Thank you. Well, you enjoy the rest of the time in Canada. It's amazing that we can have this conversation halfway across the world. I love that.
The beauty and also sometimes the frustration technology.
So fantastic. Well, enjoy the rest of your time in Canada with the family, and we'll catch up soon. And thank you everybody for listening and watching.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon. All right. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.